What's going on, guys, and welcome back to this episode of Split Screen D&D, the place where we're attacking all things Dungeons and Dragons from both sides of the screen. My name's Tom Quinn, resident Dungeon Master here at Modern Myth.
And I'm Josh Winans, resident player character here at Modern Myth.
And we're getting into one that maybe we shouldn't even get into because everyone already knows the answer. We pretty much, we can sum it up, I think, this easy. Don't split the party. Don't ever split the party. Thanks, guys. The world is yours.
No.
Oh, sorry.
Hold on. I think we can actually delve a little deeper.
Oh.
But before we get down and dirty into this conversation, hey, Internet, we're always amazed at just how amazing you are. Commenting down below, writing the comments are just, we're getting a good community going here. Crushing. You're hitting the like, you're subscribing as we're growing slowly and steadily. Thanks so much to everyone. But if you want to take a more direct way to contribute to us, patreon.com/modmyth. Oh, I'm getting it.
Man.
I know. But we're finding actually another great way to support the channel is to share on your favorite social media platform. I'm old. I don't know them all, but you know the things with the tweeting and the.
You have a MySpace still, right?
Oh yeah, I have my band playing. Me and my mind. Oh,
That's your
my top 10
MySpace
friends. If you're old, you don't understand that stuff. Anyway, Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it.
I'll 100% echo that. The shares on social media go so far in helping us grow the channel. So for those of you who have been doing that, or those of you who will be doing that in the future, hugely
Thank you guys
appreciate
so
that.
much.
And yes, let's not cut that short because I think both of us have something to say
I
on
think
the topic of splitting the party. But as it would be your party and not mine,
it's my party, and I'll split if I want to. You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right. That actually that was
pretty good.
You have to understand that both of us are dads, so that's a pretty high caliber. Like that was pretty high caliber.
Yeah,
but,
thanks, man.
All right, let's do this thing. Splitting the party from a player perspective.
Yeah.
Talk with me about the pros, the cons.
Yeah, absolutely.
Give me your thoughts on splitting the party.
So splitting the party is something that should be done I feel deliberately. It's not something that you're like, hey, wow, we walked in a dungeon and there's a lot of room to cover. Let's just split the party because we'll cover twice as much ground. Because I think one of the most obvious cons that if you're in a party, you're probably depending on each other for survival. So when you split the party, you lessen your chance of survivability, which is kind of the number one goal of D&D is to not die. That's kind of the number one goal.
Yeah. There's no way to win and only really one way to lose.
Exactly.
I mean, it depends on your definition of lose, but
this is how the DMs see the game. But
well, I think there's many ways to lose the game.
Yeah, besides just dying, genocide or anything like that, that's fine. Just, Anyway, but that being said, I feel that splitting the party does allow for a lot of unique interactions with the world that would not otherwise not be possible. And I almost see it as like a special kind of encounter. Like you have your chase scenes, you have which are really unique. Splitting the party. I always have this envisionment of like Ocean's 11, where everyone has their job that they're doing, and it all comes together in a culmination. And it comes off perfectly because that's how D&D works. Everyone rocks their DCs, and everything comes together beautifully. Yep. Never once does that ever happen.
No one fails to climb a ladder that was designed to be climbed, literally built to be climbed.
Well, I forget what episode we really dissect that one. But yeah, but it's just such a unique opportunity to experience the game that you shouldn't immediately say, no, we're not going to split the party. We're not going to pull off an Ocean's 11's heist. We're just going to go all in through the front door and kill everyone. I think you're missing out on a really unique creative opportunity to play the game.
Yeah. I completely agree, and I hadn't really thought of heists. When I'm thinking of heists, now I think it certainly could qualify.
That's just like one example. But.
Yeah, but I guess in my mind, I hadn't even really categorized heist as splitting the party, though there's certainly many opportunities to. If you're talking about 5 people executing a very specific aspect of a heist, one of those people might be on the opposite side of the kingdom, might be in a different city entirely. Maybe they have to who knows, send some magical message from a stone to get them to raise the portcullis so the original heisters can get in the first.
Yeah,
Who knows?
absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
all. So there's definitely opportunity there. I think I kind of wanted to start by laying out. I would think of splitting the party as really in fundamentally two categories. I would
Okay.
say kind of an in-session split,
Okay.
which I think is kind of what you're
That's what I'm getting at.
describing.
Describing.
I think there is also opportunity for a like a differentiated split where you're literally running two separate parallel campaigns because the party has decided to go different directions.
Okay. So, all right.
I would call that like a soft split versus a hard split. Is
Okay.
kind of and the only reason I categorize them that way is because on the DM side, well, actually both DM and player side, but definitely on the DM side, those are very different experiences.
Yes.
running the game.
Well, and as a player,
As a
character,
player,
too.
it's a very different experience too.
Yeah.
And I think there's pros and cons to that as well.
I like that you're different. I love this. So let's split it up. Let's talk because I've already and kind of been hitting on it. Let's talk about the soft.
Yeah.
Okay. Everyone's still at the table.
And I
but-
think this is what most people mean when they say split the
Yes,
party.
yeah.
And I think most of the common knowledge that has clotted onto this phrase. In fact, I actually think I think it's terrible advice.
Okay.
Never split the party is terrible.
Well,
advice.
I think when there's no wiggle room and there's no exceptions, any rule like that, especially in D&D, yeah, that you should not take that as gospel.
I would also say it's sometimes terrible advice to split the party, but
100%.
But the idea that just like in real life, that there aren't distinct advantages to not traveling as a 5-person
Yeah.
glob of individuals.
Exactly.
One of the a great representation just from the DM side of what I think is the most quintessential reason to split the party is time.
100%.
If the world has time implications, suddenly there's at least a justification to go, hey, we can cover more ground. We're looking, we're searching for an item in a city. We need to find, there's a scroll. Maybe there's a number of arcane dealers, this
Right.
great arcane bazaar, all of these stalls.
Okay.
And
What's wrong with this?
maybe someone has maybe one of them is stolen. You know that one of these vendors has heisted this scroll, and
Right.
you need to find this person before they get out of the city.
Perfect. So then in that case, let's say you're running with a rogue, a wizard, and a fighter. The rogue might go like, hey, I'm going to go hit my contacts. I'm going to go do the thief sign that looks like this. And then they're going to go
Perfect.
talk. And then the wizard's going to hit up like the vendor and like, hey, I understand these spells. And the fighter works out in the gym because they don't do anything but fight. But I mean,
Well, the thing is that
totally
it-
kidding.
it's-
Totally kidding.
But I think you just laid out a perfect use case for splitting the party. Now, what if the entire party went with the rogue to go talk to their contacts? They want to talk with their fences, see if anyone's tried to liquidate that scroll.
Right.
Then you guys all go to the vendors.
By
Well,
that time-
if the DM is tracking time,
Which they should be.
and I would say if they're tracking time, you either fail or get very lucky.
Yes.
Because not splitting the party is, I would say under those circumstances, if you're talking about a sprawling cityscape,
Right.
is likely a horrible use of your time.
Right.
And the advice, never split the party, flies absolutely in the face of
Right.
many. I mean, this is one of many situations. Now, I will say, being in a city, that doesn't guarantee your safety, but it certainly, I think, as a player, feels a lot better
Than a
splitting
dungeon.
up than when you come to a 4-way intersection in a
Right.
dungeon and go, all right, you go that way, I'll go this way, I go.
So
this
I
way.
guess, yeah, the environment definitely matters when it comes to
Yeah.
splitting the party.
But
For
what
sure.
I love about splitting the party, and I think if as a player
Mm-hmm.
you've written off the notion, you just kind of come to the table going like, well, I'm never going to even consider that. So, if you've done that, much like I try to frame a lot of the things that we talk about on at least on the DM side as tools that, hey, under certain circumstances you can reach for them. A good example being the illusion of choice on the DM side.
Right.
And I was pretty explicit about like that's a behind glass absolute emergencies if at all
Right.
kind of deal. Maybe it's the same thing on the player side.
Okay.
Maybe it's a deal where it's only under the select few circumstances we feel comfortable. But if you've written yourself off to, I will never grab that tool.
Right.
One, I think you limit yourself in some of your means of solving problems.
Yep.
But two, and you already touched on this, there's some really interesting role play that can occur when you guys are out, you know, separated by distance and by time. And I think the rejoining of the group is where you see a lot of some of those interesting opportunities come.
And it's so interesting that when you divide the group, then you're forcing certain people to use skill sets that they may not normally use. So let's say the wizard is going off by themselves. They're usually you have the bard be the persuasive guy. The wizard's by themselves. So now they're going to have to be a little bit more persuasive.
Right.
So you get to see them like, I don't know if shine is the right word because they might not, but explore different sides of the characters that you would never see otherwise.
100%. And especially talking about the wizard is they've got all sorts of utility at their disposal if they have considered the ways in which they may need to actuate their character without the aid of their party. And there aren't that many opportunities to remind characters,
Right.
Players and characters as they move through the game, that they're still an individual and that there are still going to be problems that they can't, there's still going to be heavy rocks that the fighter's not there to move.
Right.
There's still going to be, you know, hard-nosed vendors
Right.
that the bard's not going to be there to woo. You know, there's going to, so I love that idea of being able to allow new aspects of a character to shine. And I also love the idea of not just in the shining of skills and abilities, but also in the interest of decision making.
Yeah,
Is-
everyone, you are autonomous for yourself completely in that situation.
And handing that autonomy back, I say handing it back as though it's something the DM can, it's a decision that the players make.
Right.
But maybe it's better phrased, re-grabbing the reins of autonomy as an individual might just reignite some of that sense of individuality that kind of
for sure.
each character has. So I really like that. I think since we're pretty clearly in the pros of splitting the
Right.
party space, let's stay with that if you're good with that. And
Yeah.
then we can come
We'll go
around.
to the cons.
There's certainly cons.
I think, there's some pretty big cons.
Yeah, big time cons. But so and that's kind of existing in the soft split
Okay.
space, or again, this kind of in session where we're running a session, and during that session, the players decide what's best to solve the problem at hand is we need to go our separate ways.
Which we don't have much experience with.
Not a tremendous amount. One of the ones that really comes to mind was Kel and Aster. This was leading up to Bran's trial at Fort Hill.
Yep.
And Katerina and Reek
Yep.
went to go get the wine cart to smuggle soldiers into, and they even they got in a chase sequence with some bandits. And something that's really cool about like that chase sequence playing out, I know as a DM I felt it was a cool opportunity. I know, and I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on this as a player, because it had nothing to do with you, but you were still a party to it. But I think because I think I felt it myself, that there's a cool opportunity there for you to be watching Katerina and Reek engage in this encounter and know there's nothing you can do to help them. And I think there's some tension that can exist there
100%.
To be able to say, you know, you're watching this truly as an audience member, not as a participant for this, you know, this portion of it, and vice versa. When we pivot back to you and Aster, the same thing for Katerina and Reek. They have no means of changing the situation.
Right.
So I think that's another plus is there's some tension that you can develop there that would be very difficult to develop under the entire party being present circumstances.
And going off that as well, your identity changes when you're with the party. When you're at the party, you are a certain identity. And when you go off by yourself, you remember like, oh, I have so much more that I'm not showing very often because I'm one member of a troop. So they only see the gruff soldier side of me. And all of a sudden I'm by myself and I am fully exposed. I have to fill all this stuff. So you get to almost rediscover like session 0 character, which
like
is
that.
super cool.
Yeah, I really like that. I think, and there may even be some argument in the DM space for again, splitting the party is not something that I would generally say splitting or not splitting. I mean, that's something I pretty much, from a decision standpoint, want to wash my hands of as a DM.
So it's all up to us, basically.
No, I think that there could
Well,
be some.
there
could be narrative reasons. A good example is when you drink the green liquid.
Oh yeah,
I split the party. That was
Basically.
one of the consequences of drinking it, was that the party became split. I instantiated that. But I don't think I would be in the habit of a fully cognizant party sitting around and me going like, well, you could each go do the thing you want to do.
Then you're railroading at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have an interest in swaying that,
Right.
but I do think that as a DM, not dissuading that, keeping in mind that it could be a great opportunity, like you said, for your players to rediscover again some of that individuality, some of that who is my character when I'm not beholden to my party.
Right.
Because I mean, most parties, I think they begin to gel.
Human beings do it too.
Yeah, and I think as an interesting question that even in the session 0, even when you're first getting to know your character, can't really be asked is, how am I different as an individual now that I've known the party for this time?
That's process.
And again, until you get that alone time or that split time, and that's not to say that can certainly be explored. Sitting around the campfire, everyone's decided to call it an early night, and you decide you're going to stay up, and some of that can bleed onto the table in other ways. But it's not often that you are handed an encounter and you say, how does Kel, now that he has been a rover for however long these years, how does he handle a situation just as Kel now?
Right.
Does that what has changed? And I think it's a good reflection.
Because like the campfire scenario, you are purposefully self-discovery versus when an environmental thing is happening, an outside force is acting upon you is a totally different thing.
Yes.
Using the green liquid thing for those who do we even cover that? Was that broadcasted?
I think at some point we've touched it. No, it was not on broadcasting the Rovers. No.
So yeah, it was Kel drank a mysterious. That's my character. Drank a green liquid and surprise, poison. It was very obvious it was. I just forgot.
It was he was explicitly told not to
like
drink.
repeatedly. But I drank it anyway because I'm me.
The kind of cool part is the party was split at that time.
Yeah.
And the thing is
No one could
it
stop
never would have happened
Yep.
if they were there. They would have stopped you, or at least
100%.
tried to.
But because of that, I usually I'm the tank. But because I woke up and it was a gladiatorial thing, no armor. What did I become? More the back. I was almost the wizard as a paladin.
Right.
I was buffing people around me. I was like, it was a totally different gameplay, and it was an amazing moment that I'm so glad I drank that green liquid.
Right. I think it's a testament both to, hey, it's maybe not the worst idea. I mean, now maybe you'd feel differently if you had died. Like
That would probably put a little tinge on it.
but as you didn't, it because you survived, it serves as at least a reasonable testimony or testament to maybe sometimes there's value in splitting the party and being able to make your own mistakes.
Yeah, and that's also an important thing about splitting the party is you get to make your own mistakes.
Right.
Now, as a DM, I'd like to think that obviously mistakes are bad, but it's not like every mistake is immediately punished, right? That
No, or certainly not like with death.
Right,
right. I think there should be consequences, but
Exactly.
they don't always have to be.
And that's I think that's a general. Oh, that'd be a good split screen conversations talking about failures. I don't know if we've done that one yet.
Yeah, failures.
Yeah, let's talk
Yeah,
about.
we did that.
Damn it.
Yeah.
This is my memory.
You
dude.
see this. You see
This is
I'm
what he
dealing
has to deal
with.
with.
You see what I'm dealing with here. No, but 100%. I think all of that, I'm hoping that maybe we can. I don't want to cut the
Please
the
pivot.
soft short.
No, I
but
want to get hard.
let's stay in the Jesus Christ. Let's stay on the pros side of this conversation.
Yes.
But let's pivot to a hard agreed upon. And we've dabbled. We haven't gotten to this point yet, but you guys as a party have discussed the possibility of Katarina's character is wanting to go west. She needs to go get her brother.
Right.
And Kel has caught wind of some of the turmoil going on down in Stonemantle, and then deeper into the mountain in the Dwarven Dominion.
Right, which I'm very curious. Like, I not only because I am only obsessed with treasure, and there's one of the things I really want there. But yeah, no, gosh, we need to talk about this outside of this because we need to figure this out. But I would love to explore that because where I'm not even sitting at the table, this is. Like, if we do this, it'd be Ariel and Amanda.
Yeah. We'd be running separate sessions for some period of time
where I have no idea what's going on. Yeah. And then, gosh, the reunion where I get to learn about what they did through their eyes.
Right.
That is so cool.
Yeah. And I mean, I think we're already, like, just that enthusiasm is already speaking to how cool it's the D&D translation of absence makes the heart grow fonder. I think that's having some time away, and some truly time away where you don't, it's blackout on both sides.
Right.
I think when we're talking about pros, one, I think what this grants you is the opportunity to, I'm going to have a hard time not dipping my toes into some cons in this space as well.
Well,
because
we need to get there eventually. So
there's
some big ones.
The big thing that I was going to say from a DM standpoint about doing a hard party split is a couple of things. One, I think any DM who has run splits, soft splits, where they're, a negotiation is taking place with these characters,
right,
and this character's over here in combat.
Yeah.
It's a unique skill set as a DM for sure.
Holy cow! Yeah.
So one thing I'll say, because I encourage, I think this is across the board. If you aren't comfortable doing that, do it more. Try to do it more.
It's a skill set.
But I will also say that every DM only has a certain amount of bandwidth.
Yeah.
And I always want, when I'm engaging with what is happening with your character, I want to be as engaged as I can be in that process. I want to be delivering as meaningful an experience as I can. And if I'm keeping that ball in the air and then turning over here and keeping this ball in the air simultaneously, that there are some definite challenges there. And I think inevitably both of those experiences can suffer. Kind of what we were talking about.
We're going to the cons because I want to add to this. So let's start exploring the cons.
Well, the reason I outline that con is only to say that one of the big pros of doing a hard split is I'm sitting with you and we're running your part of the story.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So none of that becomes a consideration.
Okay.
Now, the obvious con is we may be running half sessions, like 2 half sessions.
Right.
But there is still the logistics of running 2 separate sessions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, which actually in our case
wouldn't necessarily be
a bad thing. I get to stay home with the kid instead of babysitter.
But let's say it's, we've got a table of 8 players.
That's a big thing.
3 of them go one way, one of them goes this way, and it's
logistics, which is a killer of so many tables as it is.
I think unless you are really confident that that's not going to throw a bunch of wrenches in the logistics aspect of your game, you might be playing with fire in terms of the health of your campaign.
That's a very strong con with hard.
So again, it's a double-edged sword, but frankly, I really enjoy running one-on-ones. I enjoy running the small sessions. But so to try and keep it as much in the pros space as I can.
Okay.
That's I just wanted to outline one of the big pros has to juxtapose against the con of the alternative.
That's fair.
So I think and I think the follow-up pro is there's an immense amount of, much as when we're at the table, like building tension is kind of par for the course. I think it's something you are doing as a DM.
Right.
Part of your job is to
you're playing you're strumming the lute of tension. Yeah.
yeah. And I mean you're trying to manage that such that there are times in which tension is very high and times
Right.
in which it's
Yeah.
there's some release to that. I think to some extent, even though individually we might be playing that same game,
Right.
what is slowly building on its own is the catharsis of the reunion.
Well, and ideally, you are hard splitting the party for a reason.
Oh, definitely.
So yeah, there's something happening in the background while you're hard splitting.
Right.
So like there is, even when you're doing your own thing, you still feel that pressure. Like, hey, the big thing that the reason why we're splitting is still happening.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think what we are talking about with you potentially remaining in the East
Yeah.
and pursuing some line of adventure through Stone Mantle,
Being
the
a
mines,
badass
the Dwarven
left and
Dominion,
right, man.
Just Aster and Katarina potentially continuing on to the Sword Coast is a good example of that, because I think to some extent you guys understand that the clock is ticking. It's we're not down to the wire, but I mean, even this far out, you can see the battlements forming, the lines are
yeah.
being drawn.
The doomsday clock is ticking.
Yeah, and here's the thing is, if the world was going to just be static, why not just go to the Sword Coast and then come back? Why not just go to the Dwarven Dominion and then go to the...
Right.
But the fact of the matter is Katarina feels a sense of urgency via the timing with regard to reuniting with her brother.
Right.
And there's the broader world sense of emergency of the plague that's spreading, the undead have begun I mean, all of these other pressures. And I think this does kind of get back to, there's very little reason to ever split the party if time is infinite.
Yes.
If the party doesn't have, if time serves no implication in your
then why
game,
hard split?
then then why split ever?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's no, it really, I think, is a fundamental reason to consider splitting.
Yes.
There could be other reasons, but I think one of those cores tends to be, we need to get things done quicker than we can as a unit.
Right.
And that becomes that push-pull of, so before we pivot hard into the
negatives
and into the cons, because I do think, I mean, there's a laundry list of buyer bewares.
Well, I was about to, we'll talk about it.
But I'm really curious to hear, do you have any additional thoughts on the con side as a player, between kind of the soft versus, I'd actually specifically be interested to hear your thoughts kind of on the soft split side with regard to, your experience of when a split's happening, you are effectively participating for half of the session.
During a soft, are we going to, this is cons. So if
I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
I'm asking, is that a con? Like,
it can be.
I
I
think it can. Yeah.
I think it's. So so it sounds like soft. There's a con from the DM side that you're juggling a lot of balls, and the problem is when you're juggling all the balls, you're not like, a ball might drop, and that's the player.
Right.
So during a soft split, it can be where it's very obvious, especially when a certain group, like you split into two, and the other group is going through some really engaging stuff, and you're picking a lock. Oh, they're fighting a horde of the undead, and you are sneaking. Granted, sneaking can be interesting, but I mean, it can definitely feel like unweighted. Like, what am I really doing here?
Right. And I think that's a challenge. I mean, I certainly think that's a challenge on the DM side to try and keep those experiences both feeling exciting.
Right.
I think there is ample opportunity to drop those balls. And that's, I just think it's a skill set that even very, very versed DMs don't exercise often. And so I think if they're inclined to slip up, this could be the most fertile ground for many
understandably
DMs.
So. I mean, when you consider that time, so when you're engaged in something that's really interesting, time goes by faster. so that when you're really in the interesting thing, you'll spend 15 minutes and then you go back to the other person, gets 5 minutes. You go back to the really interesting thing to get 50 more minutes, and that
So-
poor person's getting no time.
Here's a question that I would have is, let's say as the, let's call it observing party, when
Yeah.
the camera's not on you,
Right.
is that a space that players can or should find enjoyment at the table anyways? I'm asking that legitimately.
Yeah, no, I
you know.
understand what you're saying, because there is a point where, like, hey, my character is not privy to this information. How closely should I be keying in? I definitely
Well,
have those
that
thoughts.
and also just, let's say something very riveting is happening
Uh-huh.
with one character. One character goes, hey guys, like I got to step out. Let's say you guys have booked a room at an inn and you guys have had a couple drinks,
Right.
and this character just kind of at some point abruptly gets up and goes, hey guys, I got to step out, but I'll make sure I'll be back before midnight.
Okay.
Cool. And they step out. I'm not even going to lay out a scenario, but let's
Sure.
say whatever it is that they start getting into is wildly compelling. I guess my question is, and I'm again, I think this is legitimate. I think there's a lot of DMs who would be curious to know,
Yeah.
for the players who, I mean, effectively and this is not to denigrate. This is not to say like, well, you guys are just drinking, so we're not going to look at what you're doing at all. Like
Right,
that's
right.
not the point. But the point is as a player, simply being an audience to another player engaging in something is let all the DMs know out there, is there a time where you're completely content to just do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a large part of this, and one of the cons of this, is how often you do the splits.
Right.
So if you have that rogue, it's a rogue. Let's be honest with each other. It's a rogue. If the
You
rogue,
mean the one character that goes off on their own to do something?
it's a rogue. So if the rogue is going off like
Could be a
every
bard. Could be a bard.
no, they're easy. They're at the bar schmoozing the barmaids.
Well, I mean, what if we're running like a steamy sex scene because they
depends on your table, man. I don't know what kind of D20s you might
I
be
have
rolling.
I have
in.
a feeling that there's a couple there's some people out there who wouldn't mind just sitting back. That's
Dude,
there's
some
there's
like
some- there's some
was it
there are
Cinemax?
there are some interesting tastes out there, my friend.
Sure, I have no doubt, but we're
Okay, yeah.
we're talking more
let's,
mainstream.
Let's say for the purpose of this that it is a rogue who's off to get in some highly compelling shenanigans.
Sure. So if they're doing that every freaking night, yeah, it's going to get boring.
Oh, no doubt.
But let's say the rogue has been building this, or the DM and the rogue have been building this. They're finally back in the rogue's hometown, finally back, and they're going to confront the person that okay, I'm invested now. Okay, it's you are going out with the purpose that I understand, and it's not happening every night. I'll completely back you up. Like backing up meaning I'll be involved in your story, and I won't be like, I didn't get to play today. Which actually, if you spend the whole time only on one character and everyone else just has to watch that being played,
Well, I would say, I mean, if literally everyone shows up at the table to watch one player
God,
play, that's not
that's a nightmare right there. That's a nightmare.
But I will say that I think to some extent, well, let's keep running with that example. And again, I'm many of these questions I'm asking in earnest, only because I have my thoughts and feelings about them. But I'm really curious to hear the player perspective. Is Kel and Aster remain at the tavern? They're drinking.
Okay.
And whatever revelry has been going on. It's been a while since you've been in a tavern. And Katerina, she's up and out at some point.
Doing rogue things.
And let's say that you guys say we're just going to let her do her thing. Like, I mean, certainly there'd be opportunity to go like, I want to follow. I want to.
You definitely have that opportunity.
But let's say that you up there as a player, would you feel slighted that a larger subset of the session is revolving around this compelling thing that she is doing than the revelry and conversation that's taking place? And that is not, like I said, that's not to say I'm going to go over here for 45 minutes and then go like, you guys still chatting? Okay. And but it's just to say that when I come back to you and you guys are, again, probably some great opportunity for some one-on-one intra-party interactions.
Absolutely.
Cool stuff can be unfolding there. But I'm really curious to hear, from the player side, does that session end going like, well, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And because obviously at a DM, you don't want your players walking away that way. But simultaneously, I'd be hard pressed to say, whatever crazy sneak in nuts thing that she's doing, does inherently ask for the lens more than drinking and having a conversation.
Okay.
But I want to know your side
It
of
just
that.
depends on the situation. Again, I think if I have the buy-in, that if I understand what's happening, if going to the example, the rogue is going out to get information to help the party, okay, that's cool. If they're just like, I'm a sneaky member of the night and I'm going to go out and roam the rooftops looking for evildoers, well, come on, dude. You're what is the purpose of what you're doing?
Right.
Like,
No, 100%. And I guess I should reinforce what I'm saying when I'm labeling the rogue's actions
It's
or
always
any
the rogue,
player's
isn't it?
actions
it's so the rogue.
as compelling.
Yeah.
I mean compelling to the table.
Yeah.
Not just compelling to them.
So yeah, if that's happening, yeah. Again, give us a one-on-one time, and it's not happening every session. It's a rare occurrence. I see no problem with that.
Yeah. I was just curious because I mean my general feeling, I certainly don't want someone to feel like they're not getting their screen time, but I think to some extent session time when it's a single party, obviously there's no question, but when you're doing this bounce back and forth, to some extent the radius around a character that is unspooling the more compelling narrative
Right.
is naturally going to ask for more focus than the alternative.
Well, it's a group play game. It's just not just me playing the game. It's other people playing the game, and there is enjoyment out of watching good D&D happen before you. I mean, there's a reason why. What's that show called? Critical Role is so popular. People enjoy watching good D&D.
Right.
So I mean, I don't see a problem with it.
Yeah. No, and like I said, I mean that was more or less my thought, but I mean, I couldn't entirely fault a player for going like, if I show up for the session,
Right.
And I don't get a dead on equal amount of like I said, I don't think we're not in a position. Again, this just comes with, I think.
Yeah.
But I could see if you have a larger table and you have players you don't play with regularly or you don't know that well.
That's true.
That
Ooh,
being
that's a good point.
an added challenge because that could be read as a manufactured slight as opposed to
I could
just,
definitely also see, like you're saying, this would not be something you use with people you don't know very well. This would be with an established table who, are in it for the long haul.
Yeah. I think the big thing that we as DMs get to benefit from to some extent is that the common knowledge is you don't do it. So we don't have to grapple with it often. I think if the common knowledge was, man, you can get so much done and it's not that dangerous, and then I actually think it would be a deal where regularly I'd be running hard splits because I don't want to sit and run, and ending a session where you run the entire session split at the table is way more taxing than
100%. I can imagine. Yeah.
Running it normally. And so for that reason, I would, as a DM, I would think about the game differently if every third session the players are splitting off and totally going their own directions. So let's I mean we're kind of in the con space, but we've kind of, but I think there's some of the hard and fast cons that really inform common knowledge on the subject.
Right.
I mean, first and foremost is death.
Yeah, survivability for sure.
Yeah. And the biggest thing I could say on the DM side about that is, I mean, you already know I don't subscribe to the 5th edition's notion of encounter balance. I think the CR system is useless. And frankly, even if it worked well, at best, I think it's a guideline.
Right.
I'm not a big fan of the notion of in counterbalance for counterbalance sake. I mean, it's good as a DM to know, is this a really difficult encounter? Is this an easy encounter?
Okay.
Is this but I don't want to sit down and go, well, this is their exact level and these are their exact powers and these are, and let me craft something that, you know, that all I'm doing is sitting down and creating obstacles in the world that I know you can just clear.
Okay.
I mean, that's, to me, it kind of defeats the purpose of leveling, because then there's going to be, you'll never find an opportunity to go, I'm way more powerful than this thing, because
Right.
I've just crafted it to be scaled to you. And simultaneously, you'll also never find a fight you can't win.
Right.
And both of those things I think are important. Sometimes you
Okay.
need to stomp things, and sometimes you need to realize that you are in a bad situation.
Okay.
If you're not doing that, then, and this is kind of holds hands a little bit with the notion of illusion of choice and DM modification behind the scenes.
Okay.
You guys come to a fork in the road, and half the party goes this way and half the party goes this way.
Okay.
I couldn't have possibly anticipated that only 2 of the 4 party members are showing up. There's an
Right.
encounter that is a difficult encounter for 4.
Yeah.
That's a deadly encounter for 2.
Right.
And as far as I'm concerned, if I start changing that, I've removed any implications of your choice to split the party.
That's true.
I need to allow 2 people to come up against something that would have challenged the entirety of the party.
yeah.
Now-
no, I
now-
think I understand what you're saying.
What I will say is, if we're running a hard split,
Okay.
um,
Something different.
well, I may have a greater consideration for the fact that you're the only one there.
All right.
But something that we didn't touch on, it's not so much a con, I guess it ties into the cons, is if as a party you have split for a longer period of time, say it's going to be multiple sessions, it's going to be, you're running these individual separate experiences, it might be worth keeping in mind that you are 1 or 2 or 3 people where
Oh.
you're usually 6. Maybe hire some mercenaries. Maybe maybe find
Yes.
a way of shoring up the fact
Yes.
that because I think the problem is, especially if it's not, hey, we're branching off in 2 directions in a dungeon and we both walk into a room that kills us and now it's
Right.
TPK. The only way I can see someone from the party going, well, let's keep using your example. You branch off from the party and you
Okay.
go, all right, I'm heading down in the mines. And I go like, okay. And
All by myself,
you head
yeah.
off all by yourself. I would say what you are telling me is, I am expecting that you have changed everything about this mine
Right.
to account for the fact that just Kel's walking into
Right.
it. If you survive, that has to be the case.
Yes.
Any encounter I built, assuming the entirety of the rovers was going to be there, that you survive,
Right. Right. Right.
you now know I've changed it.
Right. Right. Right.
And that, I think, is a perfect example of if you are separate, if you've chosen to split, the reason the world should be more deadly is because I would say, as a DM, you're doing a huge disservice to your players
Right.
by robbing them of the consequences of being split.
Well,
And-
that's just taking the realism out of the world.
yes, 100%.
So it makes, I don't know, maybe it makes logical sense. If you split the party, you're also splitting your fighting force.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that reads like a no-brainer, but
Yeah.
I also think that I would not put it out of the realm of possibilities that a player goes off solo and
Right.
walks into a room and goes, "There's 6 trolls in here."
Right.
Like,
I'm
what
a
the
level 5.
what the fuck, dude?
Right.
Like, looking at the DM, like, what are you? And you're like,
You
I made a room with 6 trolls in it. How did I know you were going to walk in
Right.
there by yourself?
You
Like,
left a group of 5 to be 1. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And so I think that's a big consideration for players is and again,
Yeah.
I think I'm speaking thoroughly to the 5th edition community in saying this is, if you're choosing to split the party, you chose to split the party.
Right.
And
You have to compensate for that.
yeah, and on top of whatever other prep the DM has done, not only should they not, it also sucks to even if a DM was inclined to do that.
Right.
Like I said, I don't think that's a good practice.
Yeah.
But it sucks to go, well, man, I built out some cool encounters that I think were going to be really good encounters for the party. But now that one person's going in there, I guess I'm gonna scratch. Like it's added work for the DM. Just like I said, acknowledge that you have decided to strip a tremendous amount of your strength out by separating.
And that should be a big, like, hey, as a player, hey, if I am in the middle of the nowhere and like, let's just split the party because it'll cover more ground, that you have no way to reinforce your ranks. You have no, you are, versus going into like a heist. You are probably in a city. You're like, oh, okay, we're going to split up. You're going to go pick that lock. Well, I can't be with you. We need to hire some muscle.
Right.
And all of a sudden you're able to build your ranks. I think that's a puzzle. You're doing a puzzle right there.
Yes. I agree 100%. And I think the heist also serves as a good example because generally speaking, those conducting the heist have the upper hand. The reason that they're each playing their part is because they're executing a plan that if they're doing it well, those who are being heisted aren't even aware it's playing out, and
something interesting. What happens? Let's say there's some inter party turmoil and they decide to split the party because of the turmoil.
Frankly, I love it.
I know you would.
I love it because I think it's a way of addressing intra-party conflict in the game.
Yes.
Like,
but what do you do as a DM and encounters and like, okay.
Well, I mean, I think it depends on what you mean by split. If it's the point where two people in the party have come to odds, I mean, frankly, show me the session where we're sitting around the table and two players have clearly come to a head and the other four players need to decide who they're going with.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a good reason to do a hard split? And then, cool. It might not even be a hard split as in, hey, we've hard split in the sense that we know there's this cathartic reunion coming. We've just hard split because it's Avengers Civil War time. Like we've chosen our sides of what the right course of action is. That does not preclude the opportunity for those groups to find, again, what a cool way of having their paths weave along, maybe even becoming opposition to one another at a point, maybe becoming, there's all sorts of opportunity there.
Wow, that's pretty deep.
But what I like is it's a tool where characters are, or I should say players are in character. And it's a tool where we are sorting out differences in opinion, differences in course of action in game at the table.
Yeah. So this just allows for a really interesting way to explore different things.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know if you feel, I think the biggest cons for me is boredom. And
if you're talking about a soft split, I think, and the DM version is, I would actually say fatigue. If I had to run 6 sessions straight of,
which is really hard because you're fatigued, you're putting everything you have into this, and I'm bored because of it.
That's my whole point is you're working overtime to deliver a worse experience for everybody.
That's
very likely
such a huge negative.
Yeah. And I, like I said, I think there's probably people who are more and less versed at running that way. But I think in general, if you want to talk about an environment that DMs don't run in often, I think splitting the party is up there. So like I said, I have no doubt that if you ran those sessions a lot, you'd get damn good at it. You might even come to enjoy running sessions like that. But you have to find that competency in doing it. And so like I said, for that reason, like I said, I would generally, my preference would be to be running soft splits relatively infrequently and for relatively short periods of time.
Yep.
If it's going to be more than that, I would probably come to the players and say, hey, what we thought was going to be a session has now turned into 3, and it looks like it's going to be more. How do you guys feel about turning this into a hard split? Because I'm not delivering for you.
Right.
You're like, definitionally, even if I'm doing a perfect job of splitting time,
right,
you are observing for half the session.
Right.
And it's a big commitment just being at the session period. You know what I mean? That's so.
And I totally agree with that. It might, but maybe even headed it off. You can see into the future, like, hey, I see where this is going. Before this even becomes an issue, let's hard split now. But yeah, I totally agree with that as well. Like, hey, okay, like looking at what's going on, this is not going the way it should be. Let's do some hard splits.
Yeah, and I think again, I think, I think the big caveat to that being that a world that has proved itself to be challenging to 3 superheroes. I would say some of what should drive those players back together is the
Yes.
realization that
Maybe in that
That
first
is
encounter, you come back with your tail between your legs.
it-
Absolutely.
it could be, but it's just a deal where you just have to imagine that a world that is capable of throwing challenges at 3 10th level 5e characters, what does that mean for 1 10th level
Right.
or for 2 10th levels, or
Right.
and so I think that's always the consideration. I think the only caveat I have about splits that I would say is a con is player death.
That's a pretty
Well, player death in the sense that clearly we've already touched on that's bad for the player.
right.
The rest of the party isn't there to witness it. They literally
Oh.
just go, we never hear from him again. He's gone.
God, that's crazy. But
And-
that, I mean, there's stories like that. I mean, that's
no doubt. And so I don't think I would outline it as a hard con,
right.
but when you're talking about a character that maybe you've been with for I
that'd
think
be-
I think death should be a very real possibility, and should be even a mundane death. We should do everything in our power to remind ourselves of the importance that this character
Right.
played throughout the course of this.
Absolutely.
If you as Kel
Okay.
running off solo, maybe you've got some henchmen or some
Right,
mercenaries that
right.
are traveling with you, whatever it is that
If I die,
you come up against something that is beyond you and you're dead. How do you feel as a character having not had the rest of the players there to be privy to that? That's actually kind of an advantage. It's that final boon you get if you fall on the battlefield, is that your party is there to
grieve, but
just to experience that.
then they don't even know, which is even more powerful in my mind. It's one thing when you have a concrete answer, like, oh, he died fighting a red ancient dragon, versus like, he never showed up. What happened to him? Should we go look for him?
100%. And I mean, cool quest line to,
Yeah, 100%.
So I mean, there's some really cool things you can do there, but I definitely know that there would be some players who would feel robbed to have their final moments go unwitnessed. And I mean, again, that's an every player,
Well, that's
an
on the
individual
DM's.
player
That's
thing.
on the DM's plate to make sure that the death is meaningless. But actually, it's not too far off. Like if I was in a hard split and I died, I would like to think that you would make sure that Kel's death was resonating in the world. It would.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think I don't want any player's death to feel meaningless.
right.
But I think it's a different thing to sit at a table with a group of people for months, years, what have you, and even though there's some part of me that loves the notion of dying cold and alone.
Of course you do.
I mean, but the thing that I love about it is it's practical. It's realistic.
No, you're
it's,
not wrong.
It's but there's so much, especially about the 5th edition space, that isn't that.
right.
It's meaningful, heroic deaths, and to some extent, a player is robbed of that if they are.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's nothing I would attempt to amend. I would
Right.
try to make it meaningful one-on-one for them in that experience.
Right.
And then at that, I would begin having conversations about like how the rest of the party clearly isn't going to be aware of this. So how are we bringing you as a player back
Yeah.
into the story? And ultimately, it's going to come down to the other characters' decisions.
Right.
And to some extent, those decisions might just be the payoff that player might have been looking for. If they, do they derail what they're doing to go in search of Kel? I mean, maybe that feels really meaningful to you as a player that they're going to travel halfway across the.
But if the doomsday clock is ticking.
Well, and the thing, some of the challenges there, we're actually getting into an interesting
Yeah,
rabbit hole,
we're getting into the
but
weeds.
there are some interesting rabbit holes there in that you and your new character are aware precisely what happened.
Yeah, why would we go look for my previous character? We need to go address. Yeah.
So there's some interesting things, but it's a different angle on death that I hadn't considered.
Yeah.
For a player to die, frightened and alone, maybe feels very different than dying alongside your friends on the battlefield.
Right.
So,
I think it's about time to wrap it up, sir.
yeah, I think you got a summary on the player side of.
Yeah. I think that we have uttered in the never split the party. That has become our mantra. And I think we're missing out on some things. It's not something that should be done every time. It's something that is an interesting way to explore the game and explore our characters. And should not be totally discredited, but used with caution.
100%. I think the real takeaway is next session, everyone tell your DM you're ready to split the party.
Yeah,
tell them Modern Myth sent you.
Oh, bring the hate.
I think, and I mean, I guess this would be speaking to DMs. I would love to hear in the comments their various takes. But if you are a split averse DM, I would love to hear. Are they primarily for the reasons that we outlined? And despite that, is there a willingness to allow players to explore that, explore those decisions?
Right.
But yeah, I think I think mostly I just have to echo what you say is I think never split the party is it's a never say never scenario. It's there are always those finite tools for completing very specific tasks.
Yep.
And if you've closed yourself off both as a DM or as a player to the possibility that precisely what you need in this moment might be to go your own separate directions, you're going to have to approach certain obstacles like a hammer and looking at them like they're a nail.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes there is opportunity for that. For all of those who are lying in their mass graves, having split the party.
Sorry, guys.
That's
your DM's fault, by the way.
Yeah, he should have modified the world and made things
Seriously,
easier.
it's all about living. You never.
That's what these DMs.
There's no consequences for any action.
No, I think there are plenty of people. I would love to hear from DMs or players out there. Tell me your party split horror stories. Like tell me why it was the worst decision and why we're wrong
You're
about
such
everything.
a negative person. I want to hear your positive stories. Tell me the amazing things that
Here.
happen.
Hit us with a sweet story about splitting the parties.
There we go.
Just take this one out old school.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we hugely appreciate you joining us this time. Until next time, the world is yours.